Good morning. Good to see you all. I'm getting myself in order here, getting organized. At the last minute, I realized some of the internet stuff didn't come through on my announcements and my order of the service. So I'm using my phone. It has 19% power. So if I stand up here, in about 10 minutes and go, I don't know what's happening next, then you'll get why. So good morning to you all who are watching online. Welcome to 1111. Good to have you all here. If you're just visiting with us for the first time, glad that you are here as well. And if you are visiting for the first time, because I do know we have some friends who are visiting with folks here, and I just want you, if you are visiting, you get one of our free, you get one of our 1111 sippy cups here, one of our tumblers. So I encourage you to go back there and grab one of those on your way out, just as a way of saying thanks for being here. If you don't have one, but you're a regular with us, they're only $15. So pick up one of those and help support the budget that paid for them, that went in debt for that, and we'll be happy that you did. We have plenty of those. And as we're kind of coming together, I appreciate everyone being sort of mindful of one another. I know that we're an all-vaccinated community. I'm assuming that we all are. I'm assuming that most of us are running around in circles with people who mostly are. I'm not too worried about that, but at the same time, we're mindful of what's going on, and we do have other folks who are more immunocompromised than others. And so I appreciate the kind of mindfulness about that. We do have extra masks back there if you'd like. Couple of quick things. Register your attendance in here. Register your attendance online. If you're watching, there's an opportunity there to do that. There's an opportunity for offering as well. We appreciate the support for the church, all the ministries it does, as well as this ministry here. So we appreciate the offerings and that support. Also, a couple of quick announcements. Next week is our last, fingers crossed, our last online-only service. So if you want to see us, you have to catch us online next week. Or you can catch us at our Hotter Than Hell Midsummer Celebration, which will be happening overlapping with the online service. And it'll be happening at the Southside Preservation Hall. Is that confusing? Yes. So we just decided, why aren't we just going ahead and meeting anyway? We can still do the online thing. You can still watch it online. Of course, you can watch it anytime you want to online. You can watch the first 20 minutes and then scoot on over to the Southside Preservation Hall and then see us there in person. I don't know how many of us will gather. It's a BYOB, BYOF. Bring your own beverage and your own food, but we'll also have some other stuff there just to kind of fill in the gaps. But we're just gathering casually at the Southside Any of you know where the Southside Preservation Hall is? Awesome then. It'll be an adventure. So it's on Lipscomb, right off of Hemphill, on South Hemphill, in the south side of Fort Worth. It's a historic building. My brother and Stan and some of the Fairmont community there are part of the historical committee. So they're excited about it. It's been restored in the ballroom, and we're just going to gather for fun. Elizabeth will be joining us there casually, as will Brad Thompson joining us, just to lead us in a couple of songs. Who knows, we might sit all around a table and start singing gospel tunes. You never know. But while we're drinking beer, you never know. So I hope you can do that. That is next Sunday, the 8th. Simultaneously, it'll be online. Watch it there. Come on back over and join us afterward, or watch it later and join us beforehand, okay? You're going to get an email. Hopefully, if you're on the email list, you'll be getting an email to remind you, but that's happening next Sunday. All right. Now, the other thing I want to announce very quickly is this morning, we have a couple of special guests. We have with us Doxy Sultanoff. Clearly, we have not missed you. And also, we have Elizabeth Wills. So we are excited. Brad is at camp. I'm going to talk a little bit about that a little bit later in the message, but Brad is at Camp Care out in North Carolina. Elizabeth is filling in with leadership as well as some of her own music, as well as one of her newest solos that's been just recently released, her newest singles. Right? Yeah. And so we're excited about that, and we're excited to have Doxy with us this morning as well. Then Dr. Penny Armstrong who I'll introduce in a minute, will be with us to talk a little bit about this study that I've been hinting at for the last several weeks and what that's all about. And then we'll move into what I want to think about with you this morning. I don't know about you, but I think as we move into where we are right now, post-pandemic, if we can even begin to think in terms of post-pandemic, just when you think you can, you can't. So as we're in this murky time, I want to talk to you about leaps of faith and about leaping ahead even in the midst of confusion, even in the midst of doubt. What does it mean to leap ahead? How many times a day do you normally leap and you don't think of it anymore? But if you look back on your life, that was clearly a leap of faith back then. We are always making leaps, but I want to think with you about even bigger leaps that we have to think about. All right, so that's coming up. Elizabeth, let's hear something. So nice. So I'm going to light the welcome candle and invite you all to join with me in doing the welcome candle. I said I'm going to light the welcome. There it is. There we go. Yeah, come on, light. All right, then we're going to light this one. I feel like Mr. Rogers. We light the candle. Sometimes it's a little troublesome. Isn't that nice? All right. Let's do this together, right? Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, it does not matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, even if you have broken your vows 1,000 times, come yet again. So I'm going to invite you all to stand, and Elizabeth's going to lead us in one of our favorite Peter Mayer songs. Join in and sing along if you know it.
just like a mother to a child she's holding, just like a soldier marching along, just like the faithful on Sunday morning, raising our voices, singing a song. Eyes will shine and light as bright, arms will hold and let us tight, when the word is only spoken. So give it feeling, give it night, lay it in for quarter time, sing it with the heart wide open, sing of the beauty right there beside you, bring it inside you, making you strong, so that when trouble comes round to greet you, still it will leave you singing this song. Eyes will shine and light us bright, arms will hold and let us tight, when a word is only spoken. So give it feeling, give it night, lay it in for quarter time, sing it with your heart wide open, and may the music of life overtake us, till angels mistake us for a heavenly throne. And may that joyful sound be our shelter, find us together, singing this song. We'll be together, singing this song.
Okay, so just take a minute, just kind of look around, walk around, be respectful, fist bumps, elbow bumps, say hello to one another, show signs of welcome to one another. I'm up now. Yeah, I'm up back up. Okay, good to see you all. Have a seat. Find your seat. And while you're sitting down, I want to invite Dr. Penny Armstrong to come up here and to be with us and to y'all introduce y'all. Most of y'all know Penny. Most of you know Penny, and so we're glad to have her. I will give you a little bit of background of why I engaged Penny in what we're going to do. Now, Penny Armstrong has a background in organizational work and consultation, also in administration, was for a long time the CEO director of the Southwestern Christian School here in Fort Worth, had done educational work and leadership in Minnesota before coming here, and then retired just a couple of years ago, I guess, and has been doing consulting work and coaching work. Any of you who are interested in individual coaching, she's doing that kind of thing as well. But a few months back, you all knew that I took a renewal leave for a couple of months. Every 7 years, we pastors, we clergy get this kind of time to go off and sort of reflect and do all sorts of things, which, of course, I don't do renewal leave well, so I will tell you that up front. I worked most of that time and was thinking about you all and thinking about our future. And also got a little bit of time in. I did get a little bit of vacation time, but I was doing a lot of thinking during that time. And at one point, it occurred to me, really, as so much is going on, both in our larger church, in terms of just transitioning and changes, and also in our community, right? And not just in our community, for the denomination, right? Even with the denomination changes, and we're not sure where that all is, other than we know we're splitting. We just don't know exactly when, because COVID delayed our get-together to make that final decision this year. So next year, we hope to have that done in August. But even then, we're a huge denomination. It will take a little time. So there's a lot of flux, a lot of transition. I heard a great term by Rob Bell, the post-evangelical writer, speaker. He has a podcast, and I listened to it the other day, and he called it, we're in this time of where there's a lot of water in the water. Which, at first, I was like trying to grasp my head around that, but now I know what he meant. I mean, it just means that there's even more of the murkiness and the confusion and the chaos that was already in the present that we were living through, and it's even more so. It's just a little bit overwhelming, this time we're in. And so I was just thinking about, our future as well. And it occurred to me that with all this transition, hopefully sometime post-pandemic, our attendance here, we have folks, probably a third to half of us watching online, and we show up in here bravely every week or two or so, And I think, when will we have a steady pattern, right? When will it look normal? And so I'm not sure that normal will ever be what normal was. So what will the new normal look like? What do we envision as a community? What do we see our community about? And so with that in mind, I engaged Penny to help us put together a community-wide study for us to really take some closer look at who we see ourselves as, how we resonate with what happens here, why we resonate with what happens here, what's different about this than what we used to understand as our church experience, or as what other people experience as it. So what makes this distinctive for us, for each of us? And so we involved Penny with that, and I thought maybe I'd just ask Penny to kind of give us a context for how this study is going to start taking place. And I think this mic should be turned on. Yes, good.
Tap. Well, first of all, it's so good to see all of you again. I've been gone for a while. Actually, the last 3-4 months, we've been in Minnesota because my mom passed. And I was up there for that. She passed about a month ago. So I'm really happy to be back here in community, and it's so great to see all of your faces. It's been a long time. So thank you for the welcome that I received. Yes, Tom and I were talking about how everything is evolving and changing, looking at First United Church, which really is unique in this Fort Worth community for a bunch of reasons. It's a spiritual presence, absolutely. It provides community leadership on so many levels. Sometimes we don't even realize how much this church is actually doing. And, of course, the ministerial outreach, right? Going out into the community and helping people in ways that we can. Very important. At the same time, the church is really smart because they're saying people evolve, community evolves. How do we revitalize and stay current with the church, not only for now, but for future generations as well? And then taking it a little bit deeper, we look at this particular service. First United Methodist is unique because at this church, you don't have the same service 3 or 4 times on a Sunday and maybe a Saturday night. There's really the opportunity for people to assess, where am I? How do I feel about church? Do I even like the idea of church? And where can I go to meet other people to help me grow, spiritually as well as emotionally, socially, and so on? And that's where I think First United Methodist stands out uniquely, because they really do recognize that people are on their own journeys and they need different kinds of opportunities to come together and be a church community. So, of all the services in Fort Worth, maybe Fort Worth, Dallas, maybe the whole state of Texas, I don't know, there's a service that goes on here called 1111 that's very unique. And in the wisdom of the church and under the wise leadership of Tom, they've come to a point where they've said, you know, we really need to assess, who are these people who come to 1111? And why do they come to 1111? What does it mean for them? And how are they able to grow in ways that will help them not only be better individuals, not only be better with their families, but also feel like they're contributing in community in a way that matches the message, right, of First United Methodist Church, but also is uniquely 1111. So, Tom asked me if I would be part of helping us discover as community the answers to some of those questions. And there's a couple different ways we're doing that, and that's what we're launching today, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I'm looking at interviewing a lot of folks in different ways to hear what they have to say. I'm looking at leadership, and I'm saying, what do you bring to 1111 that makes this service so unique and so vital in the Fort Worth community? And then I'm looking at church members, you people, and saying, what do you think? And why do you think that? What does it bring for you? And what do you bring to the church community? And then lastly, a broad canvas survey, which we're going to be putting out, and I hope you'll answer. Now, I know that I've done a lot of surveys, you probably have too, and you hit that first button and you think, oh, dear God, I don't have time to do this. I like the idea, I don't have time to do this. So we really are putting together a very concise survey. It shouldn't take you more than 10, maybe 15 minutes at the top, but your thoughts are vital to this process. When all of this data has been put together, I'm going to be coming with a report. I'm going to be sharing the information with you because I'll bet you'd like to know. But I'm also going to be sharing it with church leadership on the highest levels to let them know who you are, what you're doing, why this service is so vital, and also where it's going, looking into the future, which will be in large extent what you think you'd like to see. So,
yeah.
Long answer, but...
Yeah, so it'd be like 3 phases, 3 aspects to it. The interview of church leadership,
Yep.
larger church, and interviews with sort of a group of folks within this community who that are sort of leadership within this community, and then a survey of everyone that's involved.
Yep.
And then there'll be, I'm guessing if... depending on where you are with all of this, that you'll be engaged with me in conversations as well throughout this process over the next several weeks. We hope to have information by the 1st or 2nd week of September to bring to the leadership of the church.
Right. Yeah, that kind of depends on people's vacations, if people are available. And I will be contacting some of you and asking if you'd be willing to interview one-on-one. We can do it Zoom or we can do it here at the church.
And these will remain anonymous.
Probably most important here is that everything is anonymous. Absolutely. The highest level of respect for what you have to say. The only way you would be noted specifically would be if I got permission from you to quote something that you had said. Otherwise, this is all looking at trends, understandings, and putting it together in a common report.
Yeah, we wanted it to be anonymous enough that you would feel free enough to really say, well, the first thing that has to happen is that Tom has to go.
For example.
We wanted you to feel free to say that. Okay.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll open it up just a couple of questions. Does anybody have any questions quickly? We want to, yeah.
And what is your question? I'm sorry. Do I know of another? Yeah, you know, I'm probably not the person to ask that because I only go to this church. But I bet Tom can answer
I
it.
can actually answer that pretty well. There really aren't any other churches in this area that have this kind of community with this configuration. There are progressive communities within different churches, for sure. There's one that I've connected with in Houston also. It's a large community like this one with several hundred probably as a part of the community who go to St. Paul's Methodist Church, but it's a class within the community. So there are some of those kinds of groups that are not so much ritualized or ritually oriented kinds of communities like we are. That would be considered a worship service. I haven't seen anything like that. Yeah, yes, yeah. Churches, I think, are kind of moving towards centrist and maybe just right of center in the Protestant denomination, but that's not necessarily across the board. But yeah, this is a very unique configuration and expression of worship, and so pretty much unique to us in this area. Yeah. Another question. Yeah.
Yes. So my question is, how long is the interview process going to be going?
Yeah, that's a great question. The interview is supposed to last about 40 minutes. People get talking, and sometimes we end up all the way to an hour. But I work hard to be respectful of people's time and not to go over that hour mark. And what was your second question?
Well, when I say how long, is it going to be like for the next couple of months? Is it going to be that? And then the last question was, are you going to reach out to us or reach out to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm hoping to have all of the interviewing done by the end of August and the report put together those first 2 weeks and then published about the middle of September. And if you feel like you really want to be part of the interview process, if you will let Tom know, we'll go from there. Okay?
We do have some folks in mind, but honestly, that's a good point, Tom. If some of you do feel very compelled to want to participate and have a very strong sense of something to say, then absolutely connect with me, and we'll connect you with Penny, and that'd be awesome.
Great questions. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, yes. I will, absolutely. Yes, we'll have a report for this community. Absolutely, yeah.
I'll be back to share that with you as well. I think if you invest your time in a study, you deserve to hear what it turned out to be. Yep. That's fair. Okay. Any other questions about it? This is really fun to do. I mean, what's more fun than sitting down telling somebody your opinion about things, right? Absolutely. And your opinion is important. Do you have any more questions for me?
I think that's it. Thank you. Yeah. Let
Okay.
me know if anything comes up that you have questions about, or if you're interested in getting having a very specific voice in that process,
Yeah.
and we'll do that. But thank you very much, Penny. This is going to be exciting. And do you want to? I think you have an announcement that we can
I
celebrate.
do have an announcement to
Yes.
make. Yeah.
Yes.
One of the many reasons that I love 1111 so much is because I've met people who mean so much to me here. And I'm so glad to be reunited with many of you. But one person in particular, I met at a coffee here that they used to do. If you remember, Charles used to do those coffees that were so fun. Well, I became aware of somebody at one of those. That was 6 years ago. And this November, we're getting married, Elizabeth Wills.
Yes. Yeah, very exciting. Excited for the future as well. All right. So let's have our Kairos time then.
Love, hear my voice through the silence and the noise. Peace is welcome in, it's welcome in. Love, fill my heart. Pull me in where I'm apart. Peace is welcome in, it's welcome in. Love, be my guide, even as I close my eyes. Love, be here now, be here now. Love, sing my words so that everyone is heard. Love, be here now, be here now. Love is all around, it's all around.
Wow. I have to say wow when I hear that. We are already in a season of prayer and a spirit of connection. So I invite you now to center yourself and let's share together in a time of quietness and prayer as we continue in this moment of beauty. Breathe deeply the grace of love and acceptance that surrounds us as we pray with thankful hearts for this community where we can be who we are and who we are becoming together, even when we're apart. With thankful hearts because our hearts are filled with love. And help us learn that we are accepted. So we need to accept ourselves and one another right where we are. Help us find words for these holy feelings that we don't even fully understand. And somehow we find thank you as the most obvious expression. In the beauty of this diversity, we welcome one another. We welcome what lies ahead, and we reject the temptation to fall into fear and abject hopelessness because we trust in something so much greater, and we live into that together, envisioning a future that welcomes and loves all people. Help us spread this spirit of love and like-mindedness so that all can be in peace and live to their fullest potential. Love, hear our voice.
Because I'm not going to talk that long. Last words. Now I'm just going to share something for about 5 minutes or so, and then we want to get right into your song. Let's see if I get my mic unmuted here. So I want to share with you a couple of quick things, just a couple of quick thoughts. Because as I was getting into this, literally, as I was thinking about this 3 months ago during my leave, my renewal leave, I have to tell you that part of the reason why I was so preoccupied and kind of spent that time unrestfully is because it felt a lot like I'm at a place in my own life with where we all are and where the world is, but especially here within this community, in this context of change and that surrounds us in all of our ways, individually and communally. I feel like I'm on the trapeze, but I don't know how to do it. I feel like I don't know if you've ever stood on a trapeze pole, but I want to tell you what that feels like. And to do that, I want to start off with a joke. A lot of you know it. A fellow was running along, being chased by something in the woods, and it looked like a bear, and as it was chasing him, he was running faster without watching where he was going, and he went off the edge of a cliff, barely grabbing hold of the root of a tree, maybe 10 feet down the side of the cliff. Luckily, just grabbed hold of that, but as he looked down, he's 100, 200, 300, he's several hundred feet above the ground. He just can't let go. He's going to fall to his death. He's clinging there, crying out for help, desperate. Somebody's got to hear him, even though he's in the middle of nowhere in this forest. Then he hears a voice. Bob, let go of the root. And so the guy, his name's Bobby, he looks up, he says, who is that? What do you mean let go of the root? Who is up there? It's the Lord. It's God. Trust me, Bob, let go. No, wait a minute. Wait. You want me just to let go of the root? Let go, Bob, and trust me. I am the Lord. And then it's quiet for a few moments when Bob finally says, is there anybody else up there? Right? So I want to read to you a couple of quick scripture lessons that I want to just kind of focus on as sort of the context for what we're going to say. The first one is from Philippians, and both of these should be pretty familiar to most of us. This is Paul writing to the church at Philippi, probably a pseudonym of Paul, not really Paul, but someone taking his name. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever things are true, whatever things are honest, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there is any virtue, if there is any praise, think on these things. Do those things which you have both learned and received and heard and seen in me, and the peace of God, or the God of peace, will be with you. Whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report. Right now in your mind, you're probably thinking of Facebook. You're thinking of anti-vaxxers and pro-vaxxers. You're thinking, how many things of ill report are out there right now, and how hard is it for us to tell which is good report and ill report? If there's any virtue, if there's any praise, think on these things. And then here's from Acts, which was written before the letter to the church at Philippi. This was one of the earliest writings of the earliest community that was following Jesus. And this is in chapter 2, verse 40. He went on in this vein for a long time. I believe this is Peter preaching, urging them over and over, get out while you can. Get out of this sick and stupid culture. This is the Message version, by the way. That day, about 3,000 took him at his word and were baptized and signed up. They committed themselves to the teaching of the apostles, the life together, the common meal, and the prayers. Everyone around was in awe. All those wonders and signs done through the apostles. And all the believers lived in a wonderful harmony, holding everything in common. They sold whatever they owned, pooled their resources together so that no person was in need and everyone's needs were met. Robert Holden, who is he's a motivational speaker and sort of a Oprah Winfrey kind of person. You know, he's been on her show, and written a lot about love, and he's a psychologist, a social psychologist. He had this to say. He said, one new perception, one fresh thought, one act of surrender, one change of heart, one leap of faith can change your life forever. So Brad is at Camp Carrot. Now, Camp Carrot is a camp for kids with cancer and their closest siblings. There's usually about 200 or so kids there, and then all the adults and counselors as well. And they meet at this camp outside of Lurecrest just south of Asheville, North Carolina. I used to do this camp for about 10, 12 years, and then Brad came on and joined me for about a year or so, and then Brad took it over. And I think Brad's been doing it now for almost 10 years. Maybe this is his 11th year. And profound experience for these kids because this is a place where, number one, they can be themselves, right? Wherever they are in their process of recovery or not recovering or treatment, wherever they are in the awkwardness of their life with this illness, they can feel normal. They can do crazy things at their own pace. And they do a lot of crazy things. I've shared some of those stories with you over the years from my experiences there. One of the experiences involved a circus group that came through probably about 12, 13 years ago, towards the end of my time there. And they basically brought clowns and such, but then they brought a trapeze. The two poles set up 30 feet up in the air with the platforms, two swings, a large net underneath. It was set up outside. And, of course, it was like the ropes kinds of courses that you see at a lot of these camps. I mean, the object was to sort of get up there, face your fears, and take the leap and swing out. Now, only in a few of the situations, mostly with a couple of the oldest kids and a couple of really brave and I would say foolish counselors, did they try to do the routine where somebody swung back and tried to catch you. And that wasn't me. I didn't try to do that. What was amazing was to watch these kids, and I've shared this before on the ropes course, to watch the kids who climb up this pole, stand on a tiny platform about 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet. The bar is tied up, it's hooked up, right, to something. In order to grab the bar and to stand there at the ready, you have to lean forward. You can't like lean back and then take a running jump. You have to lean forward if you're going to hold the bar. So you hold the post and you hold the bar. Or you've seen some of the trapeze artists who will kind of lean, they'll kind of stick their butt out backwards and they're trying to balance out the reality that they're being pulled forward. If they lean forward, they are going to fall. So you have to make a decision, right? You have to make a commitment. I can't tell you how many people stood there in this position with their hand on the post and their hand on the bar, waiting for just the right encouragement, the right word. And no word would do it, right? No word of encouragement would do it. It was that leap of faith that finally did it. Or perhaps it was the leap of joy. Because when you looked at the kids, they would climb that thing, and for most part, for almost all of them to a kid, they would just lean out, and before the guy could grab the rope down below, because most everyone was tethered, even though we'd fallen in the net, you were tethered so that you just didn't slam down in the net. They would hold on to you, and kind of that would ease the fall. But a lot of the kids would get up there before the guy had a chance to get a good grip on the rope, because they just climb it, grab the thing, and swing out there. Then they just fly up in the air, and in any way they could. Some would flip rather nicely. Most of them would, I would say, do a 2.5 belly flop and then just hit the net and bounce. And it was so much fun for them. It was this freeing event, right? For us as adults, it was more challenging because as adults, we know how to hang on, right? As adults, we know how to cling to stuff. We have a hard time letting go of our judgments, letting go of our self-stories, letting go of the narratives that we're allied with, that we hold allegiance to. We know how hard it is to let go of the beliefs we've told ourselves or the stories we've told ourselves over the years. There's a lot of baggage that we're carrying, and it's hard to let go. I've seen some adults literally that would just turn around and climb back down. Couldn't even just jump off the thing and just land in the net. At first, I have to admit I was one of them. I leaned out and I was surprised. Nobody said, by the way, when you get up there and you grab the bar, you better have already made your decision. Because once you grab the bar, you're going. So they didn't tell me that the first time. So that when I went up there and I grabbed the bar, I fell. And I hit the net. And then I realized, oh, there's a net here. That's okay, there's a net. I bounced, got up, got back in line. The next time I held onto the post, and it took me 10 minutes to let go. Because at that point, the decision is, do I go out? Do I swing on out there? Or do I just drop? That's the challenge. To me, that was the perfect metaphor for the way our lives are. In so many moments of our lives, we have these opportunities to cling to the post, or just stumble by accident, or make the wholehearted decision to leap out into life, to leap out into the moment, to leap into the conversation that seems awkward, to leap into the moment that I'm angry about with a sense of openness. And the challenge is, I think, that some of us have this deep feeling in the back of our mind that there's no net. Now, you're going to say, the famous phrase, jump and the net will appear. I don't want to discourage you from that belief, but I want to encourage you to stop thinking in terms of there is no net. Because the very ground of our being is what we have our life in. It's what we live and move, as Paul said in the book of Acts. It's what we live and move and have our being, is this ground of reality. Call it God, call it life, call it a great mystery beyond what we can really put our hands around. But anytime you've ever leapt out into the unknown, and if you're thinking about it, you could probably think of once or twice, you know somehow you've managed to move on, to move through it. We are somehow held up in the life that we commit to. And that's where I think the challenge for us is to realize that we all, as a community, are the net into which we fall. Shall I say that again? We are all a part of the net. We are the net into which we fall. For us to leap forward is no more than to simply claim we are a part of this great possibility of the redemptive moments that are always around us, that every opportunity provides. But what's required is the passion to do the leaping. That's the hard part, is to do the leaping. Did y'all watch the Olympics this last week? Some of y'all watched the Olympics real quick? I'll tell you a quick little story. Some of y'all remember the woman, I believe her name is Simone Biles. You've heard of that person. Did you know who won silver? Who took silver and stood in for her? Anybody raise your hand? You know who that was? Won it in the vault exercise? Yeah. I mean, so Simone Biles, you all know what happened. Earlier in the week, she stepped out from the competition. She had something called the twisties. I don't know if you saw that part of it where she said she had the twisties, and it's kind of a mental thing. And in reality, what she discovered, what every gymnast discovered, is what most of us experience every day in our lives, which is there are a lot of times we don't know what's up or down. A lot of times we feel like our lives are in turmoil and flipping around. We're not sure we're going to land on our feet. We're not sure we're going to be able to succeed or accomplish the next thing in the right way. We're always anxious about what's the next step. Simone Biles experienced that after years and years and hours and hours and hours of practice, that as she was doing her routines, she suddenly had this sense in midair she wasn't sure where was what. And it's dangerous, of course, to participate in that way. So she stepped out, and all the gymnasts were completely understanding and supportive, and the athletic community completely understands and supportive. And of course, those of us who are on the outside and don't really realize the confusion we live in from day to day, we're complaining. But the reality is, it can get pretty disoriented and dangerous. So someone steps up, the alternate, the nobody knows who the alternate is. She went to the Olympics thinking, I'm going to be here. How exciting, I get to be here. She wasn't expecting to step up into the competition in place of Simone Biles for the team and then to have to do the vault. And when she did it, Michaela Skinner won silver. Did she expect to win silver? I mean, isn't it interesting? What in the world gave her the gumption to even go forward into this process where she figured she wouldn't actually compete at all? What gives any of us the gumption to presume that we have a part in the life around us? Passion. Passion for life. A recognition that we are all part of the net into which we all fall, and when we put ourselves out there in that way, we begin to experience it as well. But it is a leap. It is a definite leap. I used to say one reason why I think a lot of you all should be here is because a lot of the others of you should be here. And if half of you didn't show up, then the other half might decide, I don't know if I should show up. That and the fact that you don't know that much and you need to learn as much as you can. Okay, I'm sorry. That was last week, if you were here last week. But we leap into this net because we know that we are a part of the very ground of our own being. That we are, in fact, this very substance of community that exists for each other. To bring life to life, as my uncle used to say, come into a space and leave it better than you arrived at it. That's why we're here. That's the opportunity we get. The last thing to share with you is this interesting story that I heard that I watched recently. It was called Red Joan, movie on Netflix, I believe. Red Joan. You know about this one? Yeah. You know who the person was that was responsible for the bomb, right? For the nuclear bomb that on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Oppenheimer. Right, the director, the leader of the Manhattan Project. In Britain, they were right there with Oppenheimer. They were coming up with the bomb themselves and actually working in conjunction at times. There was one young woman who was a part of that team, unheard of. She was a young woman physicist with the team. After they had dropped the bomb, she was so overwhelmed and so terrified with emotion that she began to participate in letting secrets out to Russia. And she began to give secrets to Russia on how to build the bomb. The movie begins with her in her 80s, her early 80s, as she's being brought before the British MI5 or whatever and being tried for treason, and it all comes out. So spoiler alert, it all starts to come out that she was the one who participated back in that 50 years ago. Here's the interesting thing. She says, I did it because I thought if I gave everyone the chance to see how destructive they could be, no one would dare do it because they would all have the power to do it and no one would dare do what those two bombs did. And then she said, I think it worked. I don't really know if you would agree with that, if you would brand that as treason, or if you would see that as a way of participating in life that was trying to bring hope to life. She did it all on her own. She did this kind of leap out of nowhere, and if she was a no-name in the whole team, and yet she had this profound influence on history and where we are today. What we have, I think, as a community, the opportunity to do, which I hope you will step into, is this possibility of leaping into the future with a sense of both a vision that there's something more to participate in, and with the realization that you are the net everybody else is going to fall into as well, that we're all a part of that net. Paul says, the way he puts it is he says, think about these things. Those things which have virtue, those things which have good report, those things which are pure and lovely, those things which are of praise and justice. Think on those things and what happens to our community. But we begin to see how wide this net can be. And that we all bring one another home. We all are taking each other to this place of shalom, of peace, and of wholeness. Amen.
him all the way home. At a piece of centrifugal motion, he found himself stranded alone. He didn't know how deep the waters don't show the secrets they keep under the waves, under the foam. Then from the dark there came a hand not like his, but they were the same, and they were bringing him safe from the unknown. He said, tell me your name. You don't look like me, but I think we're the same. And the stranger just smiled. He said, don't you know we're all here, and we're walking each other home. She ended her shift at a diner, headed out to find her way home. The voices are always behind her, even though she's walking alone. Nobody knows how deep her sorrows don't show, the secrets they keep under her skin, under her smile. Then from the dark there came a hand not like hers. They were the same, and they were bringing her safe from the unknown. She said, tell me your name. You don't look like me, but I think we're the same. And the stranger just smiled, said, don't you know it? We're all here, yes. We're walking each other home. The rains will come and all the rivers will rise. The darkness moans in the middle of the night. There is a light in our love will see. It's a light, A little boy sits at his window, waiting for morning to come. His mama went out 3 days ago, and he finds himself stranded alone. He shouldn't know how deep the hunger and the shame and the secrets they keep under the guns, under his feet. Then from the dark there came a hand not like his. They were the same, and they were bringing him safe from the unknown. He said, tell me your name. You don't look like me, but I think we're the same. And the stranger just smiled, said, don't you know it? We're all here, yes. We're walking each other home. Yeah, we're here, yes. We're walking each other home. Hey, y'all. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Elizabeth, thank you
here.
for being with us so much. To have you here. And
Thank
Doxay
you.
as well.
And Doxay,
And,
oh my
hope-
gosh.
hope
So
to
fun to
see-
play with these guys again.
I want to make sure that am I unmuted now? Am I up here? Yes, I am. Okay, all right. So let's stand and we'll have our benediction. It's good to see you all here this morning. Good to have you again online with us, and hope you have a great week. I would say go in peace, but as we say here, we don't simply go in peace, we go in pieces. But like Michaela had experienced in the gymnastics, we realize that we are here because of each other. We are already walking each other home, whether we recognize it or not. When we leap into that, then our pieces, we begin to find our connections one with another. So go in pieces, because we travel in this unraveling, we travel it together. And in doing so, we begin to participate in the wholeness of life. Go in pieces. Amen.